We are live, the Coffee and Biscotti Show. Thank you for joining us. It's Friday, July 9th, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And, well, yeah, it's been a morning, let me tell you. But I feel great. You know, I always like to do a check-in. It's been a heck of a week. My little guy started at a new daycare. And he's, getting used to that. And I've just had a bit of a morning. But I'm so excited to be here with all of you today because I've got a guest that's going to blow your mind. Thank you, Mr. Adamachi. Of course, he's close to you, so you may have to pick him up from daycare every once in a while. Just saying. But don't worry, I'll be there. Even if I'm a few minutes late, he'll have little Michael to go and take care of him. But today, guys, I got a show for you. Because let me ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, do you say to yourself, I'm doing what I love to do? Do you wake up and say, I was destined to be here? Oh, I hope I didn't lose you guys. I just want to make sure that we're good. I hope Josh is here. Having some technical difficulty. Don't worry, guys. We're going to be just fine. Are we good? Hype, hype. There we go. Putin Nation. So here's the thing. The thing is, folks, is that if you don't wake up doing what you love to do, is there something that you need to change? Because my guest today didn't wake up and say, I want to be a clairvoyant. I want to be a reader. I want to be a healer. She didn't go to, maybe her parents and say, oh my God, I found what I'm going to do for my life. I want to give you an example. Many moons ago, I went to go see Earth, Wind, and Fire at the Niagara Falls Casino. And I saw Philip Bailey sing. And if you know who Philip Bailey is, this is a man who was like God put this voice inside him so that he could share his message, his passion for singing. I want you to feel me on that. Because if you've ever heard Earth, Wind, and Fire, the guy who's doing the falsetto is Philip Bailey. And I just watched this man sing. And I said, holy shitballs. This guy was destined to do this. My guest today has had, I'm sure, many careers in her life. But she's going to tell a story of transformation and of passion. That this passion is going to hit you in the core. You're going to feel her energy. She is an extremely talented and extremely powerful goddess. She's sexy as can be. But guys, you have to wake up one day and know that you want to do this work that she does. She's an incredible human being. I remember being referred to her from a dear friend of mine here in Ottawa, my man, my boy, Albert. And he referred me to this woman, and I said, you know, I've done this whole metaphysical stuff for a few years. I've seen a clairvoyant here and there. And then appears on the screen Debra Taital, all the way from the Windy City in Chicago, Illinois. And this woman is a fabulous storyteller. And she just goes on, and she's reading the energy, and she's like, I'm going, holy shit, man. How does this woman know all this stuff? My friends, she's got a talent. Trust me. And I put in my post on Facebook, you didn't hear it from me, but there may be like a code, like kind of like a discount code for your reading. And let me say something before I bring this woman on. She is absolutely bang on with the stuff that she says. So wherever you are in the world, I want you to get off your comfortable seat and put your hands together for the very beautiful, the very talented, the very clairvoyant Debbie Taital.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction. It's a lot of pressure, buddy. That's a lot of pressure.
I'm all about pressure.
Me to come tell a story for 90 minutes or so.
Well, you can see I'm flush. I'm flush in my face. I'm so excited.
See. And by the way, all those technical difficulties, that is what happens when you have a clairvoyant on your show, because there's a ton of energy that gets in the way, and there's all kinds of distractions. There's cars we have to fix and things that we have to do. And all of that distraction really, it gets in the way, because part of what I do, and I know we haven't really talked about this, Mel, but part of what I do is I see truth. I discern truth from the illusion. And there's many, many people out there, and energies and governments maybe, who don't want this information to be out there. And I don't speak as if it's the only truth. Right? There's many different truths depending on people's perspectives and things like that. But when you begin to uncover the truth and discern the truth from the lie, that's really what I do. Is like I help people, even in my readings, when you're saying I'm spot on, which I love, thank you, is I'm looking at you, the spirit that you are, not the way you live your life or the job that you have, or even some of the choices that you've made, no matter how you're feeling, right? It's not about how you're feeling. I actually say hello to your essence and start kind of peeling back. It's like the layers of an onion, right? We're peeling back that which is really not you, that which is you've taken on as your own belief system.
Holy shit balls.
I know.
That's the way to come up to a show.
I mean, I didn't, I haven't really talked to you about that at that level, but that's what I do. I peel back the layers of the onion, because so many of us have these beliefs that truly, like, we think they're ours, and they're really not. And we move through the world with them. And that's what the beauty, and that's what creates the healing. That's the power you felt the first time we sat down together. And by the way, big shout out to Albert. Albert, you on here? Yes, you are. I see that you're making notes in there, which is awesome. So thank you so much. But thank you, Albert, for referring Mel, because it's always so interesting to see people who are, I call them part of the light brigade, right? And so it's always great to connect. And in so many ways, I actually really am a healer of healers, because there's a reason people are healers. There's a reason people do this. Become a clarity coach, or do what? How do you pronounce it? I cannot pronounce it. Muay Thai. Did I do that right?
You
Okay.
did. You did. You
Okay,
did.
good. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. But there's a reason that we do that, is when we do the physical, that makes it real. When we have physical movement and things like that, then we become a clarity coach, and we are beginning to bring in that spiritual part, right? And begin to find clarity in what we're doing. And of course, I'm a clairvoyant, and clair is in there. And clair is the French word for see. So what I do is I do clear seeing. So it's
Okay, I'm done. I'm good. This is good, guys.
good?
Thank you very much for coming to the show today. Look, my glasses are getting foggy, for Christ's sakes.
Good. That's the point. I love fogging your glasses, Mel.
Thank you, Debbie.
There you go.
Let me start off. I mean, holy smokes, what a way to start. Tell me a little bit. I mean, I want to paint a picture for our friends in the Twitchiverse. And, Debbie, because I said it in my intro, that it's not like you wake up. It's not like you went to your mom and your dad and said, holy guys, I found my calling. I'm going to be a clairvoyant healer, reader, and mentor. That's not what happened.
No.
Paint us the picture. How did you get here?
So, it's funny, and I'm gonna really preface this, because this is really a beautiful thing that actually you did for me in this, because I've been on probably hundreds of radio shows, not with video, but I've been on a lot of kind of internet radio shows, and actually even live radio and things like that. And everybody says, "Who are you? How did you get here?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm Debbie. I'm a clairvoyant." But this time, I'm in a different place than when, let's say, I last did a radio show and somebody asked me that question. And so when you said, I want you to go as deep as you want, or as, and I realized right at that moment that it's not that I don't go deep. I go deep for me. I don't always share that and my journey, partially because it's painful for me to talk about that. But I also didn't feel, and still kind of don't, that story for me, and I will go into it, but I want to kind of preface it with this, is that, like, in so many ways, and we did talk about this, like, I feel really blessed to have the parents that I have, my dad's passed, but to have the parents that I have and grow up the way I grew up. I don't have this story. I'm not an immigrant who, had these real struggles, or somebody that had, abuse or punishment in their way. Right? We're in that physical way. But my story doesn't mean I felt any less pain growing up, or it's just different. But I never thought that let's say, it's almost like a competition, right? Oh, my story's not deep enough. My story's not painful enough. My story's not this or that. And what's so funny about it is, I teach people how not to judge their own story. And yet there I was judging my own story. So, but I grew up in a very interesting family. I mean, I grew up in an affluent suburb. It didn't start out that way. But, we were kind of, I'm going to say, upper middle class. We were blessed. My dad worked hard. He worked 6 days a week. So obviously he wasn't home. Especially when I was little, right? I was probably going to bed when he was coming home. And my mom was a proverbial, suburban housewife, in those days. Ooh, that sounds so bad. But at that time, when I was growing up, she made all her own cakes, and, everything was all sweet, and she dressed me up, and, and I had dance class, and I was actually in a children's repertory theater company. And that was my passion, believe it or not, at 6 years old. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on stage and singing and dancing and doing all that.
I could see that though, Debbie, like totally, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And obviously I was good at it if I was at a children's repertory company. But my first, and I'll get back to that in a second, but I remember very strange things happening when I was a little girl. And I never felt like my earliest recollection of an energy thing that happened is it must have been when I was 4.5 years old. And I remember it super clearly. And you know how little kids, because your son probably does this, like he'll stare at his feet. Like he'll just grab a foot and you're like, what are you looking at? Well, so I was doing that in my very small bedroom at the time. And a face appeared in the bottom of my foot. And I knew that I had vivid dreams and things like that. I dreamt like I was an adult. So in my world, I was communicating with this, whatever it was, this little face, and it was a round, like sort of white face, almost like a clown face, like a kid would do that, right? You don't know how to communicate. And I looked at it and I was like, what are you doing there? You don't belong there. I just somehow knew it didn't belong. I said, you need to go because I don't want you there. Like you're in my foot. How did you get there? And then it bit me in the foot. And I screamed and I was terrified. It was so real. And by the way, I was totally awake during this time. That's my earliest sort of memory of being able to see and sense spirit, was this spirit that didn't belong. And I knew it didn't belong for whatever reason. Call it past lives, call it whatever. I just had that recollection. So this is not something that at 4.5, whatever, even if I was 5, I don't know. It was something like that. How do you tell your mom, I was just talking to this thing in my foot?
You don't.
Exactly. And so I quickly learned at that time that the things that I saw and experienced were not something you talked about.
Of course. And
it also was something, to me, everybody had that. But then when you communicate with them, you find out that actually, okay, truth is actually everybody does have that, but they don't all admit to that or are aware of that.
They don't admit or are not aware that they have this clairvoyancy, that they have this ability.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Because it gets shut down at 4 because you tell your mom that and they tell you it's not there. When you have tea with your imaginary friends or you're playing with your, whatever, fire truck and it's very, very real to you, right? And you're there with your friends. Talking to the soul. See, exactly. I actually do a live video that says lessons from my souls when I'm out running.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Well done. Well done,
really
Poutine Nation.
Yes, thank you. That's really good. With a maple leaf and everything, I'm impressed. Like, see, I'm in Chicago here, so it's something that I always felt like a misfit. So the whole acting thing, going back to that, obviously then I could do what people wanted to see. They wanted to see theater. They wanted to see, and I was talented at it. So that's what I wanted to give. That's what I wanted to do, which by its very nature was not being who I am. It was being a script, a facade, something else.
Right.
So growing up, I felt weird. I always got in trouble because I would look at somebody and I would say, "Oh, you're really sad. Why are you sad?" And that person didn't want anyone to know they were sad. And I would know these things and just constantly got shut down. And then with the acting thing, it became zero about spirit and more about the body. Remember, I talked about when you do the physical, it makes everything real, right? But what happened was, as I was growing up, I just kept getting invalidated. I wasn't pretty enough or thin enough or something enough. I was never enough. And so I moved through life collecting, I'm not enough. And having these visions and knowing about people. And I was always the friend that people came to solve their problems and all of that. But there was nobody there when I turned around and had a problem or felt like I could talk. So I just didn't. Right? Shut that all down. And it really got shut down when then suddenly, and I love my mom. So if she's happening to be listening to this or listen to it later, this is not about that. But she told me that she didn't want to drive me because my classes were all in the city, my dance and theater, and pulled me out of the only thing I loved to do. I was absolutely devastated. So I know that sounds like a weird story, like maybe, I don't know, but I think we all have some sort of variation of that I'm not enough story.
Yeah, of course.
We're not good enough for this one or that one. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to prove it. Right? I was always the slowest one in school. Or if I was a little bit overweight, they'd whisper my weight instead of shouting it out like everybody else's. All these like subtle little things, right? Haha, I showed them and lost 86 pounds like in 1996. But so there you go. But aside from that, it really shaped me shutting down. And then in order to numb the pain in, probably 7th, 8th grade here, I don't know what the school system's like there, but 7th and 8th grade here in the States, it was like numbing with food. And then by the time I got into high school, it was, it was getting high. But I still had an awareness about me. Like it wasn't like going overboard, and I wasn't a drinker per se, in that way. But so that's kind of how I grew up, stuff getting taken away like that, and just never feeling like I was enough. And yet knowing all the while that there was something more to life, something more to what I was supposed to do, another purpose for me. And so in high school, I actually started, of course, I did theater in high school, right? So that was all good. But at the same time, I also started studying everything I could about like witchcraft and spells. I didn't know from pagan because that wasn't very prevalent at the time. Right. But dream work, psychics. I went to psychics from the time I was 14 years old.
No kidding.
And so I was fascinated by that. And by the way, there's a woman out in Northbrook. I don't even know if she's still there. Her name was Linda Faluca. And she kept telling me, I'm going to do this. Like when I was 16 years old, she would tell me. Although I don't predict the future or give advice in my readings, I do more healing work and things like that. It's not that I don't, but I don't want to program anybody to go down a particular path that isn't in alignment with where they are. Each of us has free will to choose what we want to do. So if you ever have a psychic that tells you, it's okay to predict the future, but take that with a grain of salt, that you have the free will to not be that future, not do that future. That's not the truth. That's the truth as of that moment when that person's reading you. Very important. No lottery ticket numbers. Sorry.
Sorry,
Because you
Remy.
know what? If I
Sorry,
could,
Remy.
yeah,
No lottery
if I
ticket
could,
numbers.
if I could tell you that, I would be the first in line to be doing it, and then not do anything besides like kind of traveling, going to see the world. But one of the things I taught myself how to do is because I was in so much pain that I read this book. I don't know what the book is. Have no clue. But I read a book on dream walking. And I was like, dream walking. I wonder what that is. And so I started training myself to walk beside myself in my dreams and remember what I saw. Remember the lesson I was learning when I woke up. So in some ways, that was my first sort of, other than going to a psychic, that was one of my first kind of self-study as it is. And I had books on, yoga and things like that. But I was particularly drawn to the clairvoyance part of it, the seeing, because that's what I would do. I would see shimmers around people. I would see vibrations that others didn't see. I could hear spirit. I had spirits talking to me all the time. And, I'd be like, who's calling my name? So that was kind of some of my first experiences. And then you want me to go into so how's that so far?
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful start, but I mean, there's so much that I want to unpack, because even though you did this in high school, it's not like after high school, you became a clairvoyant. You went after, I'm sure you went after careers. So, tell us that, because I'm blown away.
Okay. So honestly, so for whoever it was that asked about the lottery numbers, here's an even more amusing part, that I ended up working at the stock market downtown at the Options Exchange and Board of Trade. And here, yeah, it's quite funny because I did end up trading on the floor, and I always knew what trade to make. Here was the problem. I was afraid because I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust what I knew to be true. I didn't have my certainty, right? So I ended up in other jobs. I became a real estate agent. And now we'll get to the crux of the story I told you yesterday, which was when it completely pivoted. But you needed that background because all that pain was piling up. You're too fat. You're not pretty enough. You can't sing well. You can't do this. You'll never get a part. You'll never go to Hollywood because you're not. And think about how many people, I don't know, can they wave their hands? Can they, how many people who are on here right now have ever felt like they weren't enough or never enough?
They can certainly write it in the chat for sure.
Yeah. Or in somebody's eyes. I think we've all had some version of that. Yeah. And it's really something when that's how you grow up. And you're not going to tell anybody that, right? So here I am. I know there's more. I'm working as a leasing agent. I have not done this thing that was my passion for my whole life, this acting and dancing and just being able to be free in that way. And so while I'm in my office one day, I was leasing at leasing apartments at a apartment rental place near my house. And Second City, for those of you who, I don't know if you're familiar with Second City, but it's pretty famous, Second City. So I decide that I am going to take classes at Second City. And I am going to get back to my acting roots. Because sadly, I was so invalidated that, you know how sometimes somebody says, you can't do this, you're not going to do this, I'm not going to support you or help you do this. Some people fight and get through it and have that amazing story. I was not that person. I just gave up.
Yep.
I said, you're right. I'm not good enough. That's it. So I gather myself by the bootstraps and I say, I'm going to take classes at Second City. And at the time, they wanted you to interview to even be accepted into any sort of acting program that they had. So I called, I got somebody on the phone. I made an appointment with the particular person. I don't remember the name or anything, nor would I give it if I had it. But I made an appointment and it was confirmed. And I have never been more excited for anything in my entire life. In fact, for me, that was going to be my life beginning. That was going to be the start. That would be my mother calling.
Hi, Mom.
Sorry about that. I don't know. Everything's all off. My phone is off. It's on silent. I'm so sorry.
The energy, Debbie. It's energy.
I'm telling you, I don't know how it's.
We should just say hello to Mom on the air.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Like crazy.
Hi, Mom.
That's crazy. I don't even know how that rang through. Everything's off on my phone and it just rang through. So she must have known I was talking about her.
That's right. Her ears were ringing.
So, well, that's very possible because actually, and I will get to my story, but my great-great-grandmother was a faith healer in Romania. So I grew up with stories about faith healing and readings. She used to do lead readings is what they were called. How about that? That's it. Variation of tea leaves.
Shout out to Romania, baby.
So shout out to Romania. That's my roots on my mom's side. So yeah, her ears were ringing for sure. So I have my appointment with Second City, and I honestly, this was the thing I was going to do. I was going to get back to my roots, that passion that I wanted. Who cared if I was a leasing agent? I'd go wait tables like every other actress on the planet, actor, let's get PC here. Every other actor on the planet, I was going to do what I needed to do. I was going to go to New York. I was going to go to Hollywood. I mean, I had this all planned in my head, and it was all going to start with the Second City. So the day of, I, dressed nice and everything. And, I tell my manager at the building, I'm going down to meet with these people at Second City. It might take a little bit longer, but they told me it'll only be about 45 minutes. And he said, great, that's fine. And I just, with a spring in my step, walked down the street to Second City, and the building was sealed tight. The doors were locked. There was seemingly nobody there. There's no bell to ring. There's no other door, because I tried looking for another door, possibly. And then finally somebody was coming out, and I slipped in and they let me in. Today that would never happen. You could never just walk into a locked building like that. But I walked in and there was nobody there. And in fact, I had confirmed with that person that I would be there at 12 noon. I confirmed with them earlier that day by voice, not voicemail, not text, nothing. We were on the phone, and there was nobody there. I was absolutely devastated. I mean, my heart you ever just wanted something so bad, and then you get there and it's not even just that it didn't turn out the way you wanted, but it just didn't turn out at all. And I put so much energy into it. And as I'm walking back to my office, and I'm trying to compose myself for going back to work, I gave myself some deep breaths and centered, tried to ground and connect. And I was like, well, that's when I looked up and I said, universe, I don't know what you have planned, but you have something different planned for me than what I was about to do. And I know this. And I have this weird feeling, but the very next thing that I see is going to be the thing that I'm supposed to do. I don't know what that is. I don't know how that looks, but I'm supposed to go down a different path. And I walk into my office and there's nobody there. So the admin wasn't there. The manager wasn't there. I had no clue because they would never leave the office empty in case, somebody came in, but there was nobody there. And I walk over to my desk, and on my desk is this kind of paper type magazine, because the metaphysical magazines in those days were just these like paper things. By the way, no cell phones at the time, folks. So I'm not trying to date myself or anything, but it wasn't like you could just get on your computer, right? And the magazine was open to a page, and I'm like, what's this? And there's like this half or quarter page ad. I don't remember, in my mind, it was huge, right? So it could have been a little, but I look and it says meditation, healing, clairvoyant training, Institute for Spiritual Healing. And I remember looking up and going, okay, that's weird, to the universe, because I thought, wow. I've always been fascinated. I mean, my whole life I was interested in that. I was like, really? Clairvoyant training? I didn't even take a breath, and I was calling them on the phone. And I just somehow knew that, I talked to them and they said, yeah, come check it out. We have these meditation classes and healing classes and, all of it. And you have to take meditation and healing to take clairvoyant class, because you needed the basics to be able to do what I was talking about before, begin to peel back the layers of the onion so you could even open up to your abilities. And I walked in there, and I remember it kind of looked like a group of misfits. And then the more I talked to everyone, I realized, oh my God, these are my people.
These are my peeps.
These are my peeps. They all had weird stories. They all had like the same kind of thing in their life, and that they weren't good enough for anything else. And they would blurt out stuff. And actually for years, I used to call it dumb psychic, even before I started taking classes. And because I would just blurt something out and realize that I hit somebody's trigger point without realizing it. Because I would just know or ask a question. By the way, I still do kind of, sometimes I do that by accident if I don't have my awareness, but that's what happens. You can't really turn it off, but you just have to really have your awareness. And that was really the start of, since we're all talking about souls and all that, right? Putting my feet on the path that I'm on. And even then, I never really, said, oh, I'm going to be a clairvoyant for the rest of my life. In fact, it was the farthest thing from my mind. Like, I don't think I'm all that important. My job is to allow you to shine. And
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's not me that's shining. I want everybody else, my clients, to shine,
right,
because they've got a mission.
Right. And that's how we all become stronger together. And it was so interesting because I took all the classes I could take, and then I started going on to California for mastery courses and studying, even more about energy. And by studying, I mean having teachers and guides that guided me to look at things. So there's like a lot of healing information and things like that. I don't really talk about it in my readings because it's a little bit too, but I use all the tools and techniques that I have, and I teach all those things as well. But at a certain point, I ended up, I was assistant director at a psychic school. And then I stepped away for a variety of reasons. not the least of which it was kind of punishing there. And I traded energetic punishment to get the information. Sound familiar?
100%.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. We know these things, right? We can feel it. And whether it was me and my own stuff coming up,
right,
or just whatever. So I stepped away, and probably about, actually, I reconnected with some people from that school, and somebody asked me to work with her students. So she was teaching a clairvoyant program, and so I did. And I was like, wow, this is really kind of fun. And then someone else from that school was like, no, people want to see you. So I started teaching meditation at a yoga center kind of once a month, and suddenly people are coming to me for readings. And now I've developed that, because it's like any other muscle, right? You have to,
if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right. But there's muscle memory. And so then, I start to open up all those avenues, all the Akashic records. So where we keep our lifetimes, past, present, and future. And I get to look, and I'm with a spiritual group that we do astral travels and world healings and things like that. But it's a community of like-minded souls that also help keep me grounded and centered as I do my work. And I still take mastery courses. So yeah, Albert.
I'm a little speechless, Debbie, because first of all, I think through getting to know each other that the world of metaphysics and that which you cannot see is something very powerful for me. Sometimes I think that I work so hard at trying to get those gifts back that I just don't allow it to flow. I work too hard. Come on, Absolutely. Angels, give me something. Tell me something. I just need to know.
So, and here's the thing. Effort never works.
No kidding.
Resistance never works. You can't analyze it. You can't do it as a body. You have to just be sort of open. And in your world, and when I look at you and your energy and where you are, you use to channel all these different energies and filter them through you, through your boxing, through your practice, and then your mystery school and stuff that you did. But it was all about filtering it through your body, right? So when you have aches and pains in your hands, that's energy that might be stuck or thick or whatever. But we all learn how to manage. Right, manage our lives as we go through.
There's just so many questions I have. I mean, it's unbelievable the feeling that I get, the energy that I feel, because, I mean, Debbie, how does it come to you? You're with a client. I mean, because I want to share with the Twitchyverse,
I love that Twitchyverse.
The Twitchyverse. I want to know what happens. Like, can you give us sort of a breakdown of if somebody comes to you, they go to, your website, which I hope somebody will post in the chat, which is
please. SpiritLightInsight.com.
SpiritLightInsight.com.
Come on, Rosie, baby, get that on there.
And I just kind of, I just want to know, like, what happens? Like, walk us through. I come to you, I call you. Take me through the process.
So this is great. And actually, I want to, Pout Nation, I think, is it?
Poutine Nation?
Yeah.
My friend Josh.
Oh, poutine. Oh, now I get it. Poutine, the Canada thing. Yes. Yes. Took me a minute to get there with that. But said my intuition. Well, that's partially true. Intuition is an ability, but I actually use my clairvoyance as well. I use my intuition, my clairvoyance, my knowingness. So if you're familiar with chakras, it would be everything from compassion in my heart communication and intuition, which is your 5th chakra in the throat. And then clear seeing and I'm just doing it this way, but it would really be this way.
Right.
In the center of my head, my clairvoyance, my clear seeing. And then at the top of my head, my knowingness, just knowing and connecting with those answers. Okay. And so I use all of those things, and I see in terms of vibration or color or actual snapshots, like pictures. Did I do that with you? Yes, I was reading your pictures. Remember when I was reading you? And so I might see a snapshot of when you were 4. You know, when you're playing on the playground and nobody was paying attention to you. And you were doing something great, and, you know, and then maybe you hurt yourself on the, what do they call, merry-go-round? You know, those little merry-go-rounds where you run and then jump on it and then fly off because you
Right.
can, right? And you might have gotten hurt and nobody saw you do it. And so how that translates, you know, kind of, let's say at an energy level, right, is that, oh, you were sad because you couldn't express yourself, that nobody was paying attention to you. That causes pain, and you kind of pile that on. So I see in terms of all of those different things. So preparation for a reading, I actually meditate and tune in and get grounded and clear all of my garbage. You know, just because I do this work doesn't mean I don't have garbage. And I'm an empath. I feel everybody's emotions and what they're going through. It's how I could call you the other day and go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Hadn't talked to Mel in a while, and out of the blue, I reached out and said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Wow, you know what? I'm having a bad day." So I can feel those things as well. And for some reason, you're getting a huge healing right now. I'm watching you release a bunch of stuff. Can I just say hello to that?
Certainly can.
Because it's like a lot of, yeah. So even as I talk about this, when you ask me, there's this kind of all this black sort of tarry stuff that you're releasing and giving yourself some freedom. And what that is, because I don't judge what I'm looking at. So when I look at black energy, that's not, oh, that's bad energy. And when I look at, you know, white energy, I don't go, oh, that's good energy.
Right.
When I look at that level of like kind of thick energy that you're clearing, part of it is karma from some past lives. Maybe we're working out some karma today doing this show. Generally,
right here, live on the Coffee and Biscotti show.
I even brought my coffee cup.
There you go. See,
like my coffee pot's broken, but anyway, so when I see that kind of dark energy, these are all the places, Mel, where you haven't been able to express yourself in the past and you bottled it up. Think of all those times growing up, then it wasn't appropriate to say, or you didn't feel like you were being listened to, or, you know, whatever that means for you personally.
Right.
So I get rid of my stuff like that, which usually what I call lights up prior to your reading. Okay, so I get rid of all my stuff so I could see you clearly.
Right.
And then I literally just look. I look at your spirit and you guide me to where you want to go. Even if you don't have a focus or intent or a question that you consciously know, I generally will go find it. And so
awesome.
It's
this
not
is awesome.
It's not like I can explain to you, well, this is what I do and everything, because sometimes I get off a call and I go, I have no idea how I did that.
So would you say that it's what we used to call, it's just a channeling, you're receiving information?
So channeling, by its very, even the word connotates that I'm bringing in something else.
Okay.
My goal is to bring me in and send a hello to you as the spirit that you are, not all those things you bring in. So it's not really a channeling. Think of it like watching TV. I have like a screen out in front of me and, some kind of guidelines, techniques, I can't speak, techniques that I use, which, by the way, can I plug my upcoming program?
Please, of course, you have to.
So I'm actually teaching people how to do what I do in a program called the Clairvoyant Essentials and Mastery course. And it comes in modules, but I teach you how to do what I do, not to become a professional clairvoyant, but to use these tools so that in your daily life, you are in a space of neutrality so that you can look at others. You can open up your relationships. You can live from a place of being who you are as the spirit that you are. Yeah. So I've got that coming up. So just reach out to me if that's something you're interested in doing and learning some of these tools, because they're really not easy to explain. But I don't really channel. I look at you, the being, the eternal God or goddess that you are. Thank you, Albert. You're awesome.
Right on, Albert.
Albert's like right on this. I'm like so excited. This is amazing. Thank you. That's great. So gosh, much appreciated. That's wonderful. So yeah, I look at you, the being, and there's no way to analyze that. In fact, that's what makes this, I don't want to say job, because
that means just over broke.
That means, just over broke. Exactly. It's just, you can't explain it because if you go to analyze it, it's not going to get, you just have to look and see what it is for yourself. Or, you know what? Most people can feel it anyway. Like you can feel if I'm, being authentic, or if you're drawn to me, or, what I do and what I teach. It's how people find me on Google. That blows me away. I'm like, oh, what did you do? Well, I don't know. It was really weird. I Googled, Chicago clairvoyant or whatever, and you came up first. And I was like, well, that's great. I Google it, and that's not what comes up for me. So I don't know. Like, that's how energy works. You can't really analyze it. So how do I do it? I've learned the techniques to stop and look and see. Most people are moving through life not aware. In fact, one of my, I'll share with you. Wait a second. I'm gonna pull it up. I came prepared here. One of my favorite quotes of all times is, there are no new truths, but only truths that have not been recognized by those who have perceived them without noticing.
Got to say it one more time.
Yeah. And it's by Mary Therese McCarthy. There are no new truths, but only truths that have not been recognized by those who have perceived them without noticing. We are all receiving a tremendous amount of information all the time. That's why we get overwhelmed. That's why we need quiet time. That's why we need to zone out in front of the tube, or, watch a movie, or binge watch Outlander, or, something, whatever it is that we do. Right? But isn't that interesting? I have loved that quote for years, because it's not that you don't have that perception. It's that you're perceiving it without noticing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
You're Debbie, soaking that one in right now.
I'm soaking it in, but I'm also really like, this is the first time as a host that I kind of wish I was kind of in the audience just listening, because I have to say that it's all hitting me. Like everything that you're saying is hitting me. This, like from the beginning, this idea of not being enough, and I wish I was 6'2". When God was handing out height, He must have skipped right over me, right? That's the joke, But I think that there's always something about us that we want to change, or we wish was different. But aside from that, Debbie, there's just something powerful about even just understanding the word truth and what that means to us, and the fact that we're so unaware. And that's why I coined that line. Awareness is the result of self-love, that we have to give the things that we need. We have to nourish ourselves on all levels, in body and mind and spirit, so that we can become more aware.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's no effort involved in that.
See, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept right there. I love it. I love it.
It's about being. That's part of the reason I know you haven't necessarily connected with it yet until just now, because I could see you just connected with it just now. That's one of the reasons that we are connected, is to open that avenue for you, because effort is all about bodies. Bodies are in effort all the time, right? I'm sitting in this chair, so I have to sit upright. Trust me, I'd rather be like hunched over, hanging out, kick back with my cat, something like that. But bodies, there's effort in the physical. There's no effort in spirit. Spirit just is.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Wow. No effort.
And most people, this is an avenue. It is a little bit of a hard concept because we're always used to being an effort. We have to work hard to at our jobs, but what happened to just creating? All creating begins in spirit first. Now, that's not that we don't take the steps to do what we need to do, right? And work at our jobs. But, sometimes if we go in with non-effort, and so I'm going to bring this up, that meme.
Yeah.
If I had, even in my world, said, I don't have enough time, I don't have this, I don't have that, do you think that would have gotten created? No, wouldn't have gotten created. Right? It's our creations are all from spirit. And it's the body that's in effort. We're trying to prove to something, prove to ourselves, prove to our loved ones, prove to our friends, there's a lot of proving out there. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Well, okay. So I still get caught up in that all the time because I'm human. That's part of it. And what I teach isn't about, and what I offer, when I work with people, it's not about making some robot, non-feeling. It's not about that at all. It's about that self-love, and that I'm going to take that one step further, if I may, to self-understanding without analyzing it. Oh, okay. And by the way, I will be the first to beat myself up if I say something wrong. And I wish that I could let that stuff go. I might lament about it for weeks and feel horrible. Right? So we're all working it wherever we are. It's less of that now. It's more self-forgiveness for those things. Okay, I blew up Atlantis. I'm sorry. I got to forgive myself in some lifetime, right? Lemuria, God, I let that silly bomb out of the, thing, and then I left the planet and it all blew up, and no longer there. At some point we have to,
So funny that you mentioned Atlantis and Lemuria of all things, like it's incredible.
See,
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I blew up Atlantis. I'm sorry. Thank you, Albert Wong. Yep. It's okay. So let's go there. Let's go a little bit deeper into that, Debbie, because I think that that's powerful. I think that everybody who's watching can relate about how you talk about effort and about proving. I mean, my God, that's all we do when you're a fighter, when you're an athlete. You're training
right.
so that you can prove that you're the. We got UFC, and I'll tell you, I want to sort of pre-frame this comment because in the book Conversations with God, written by Neil Donald Walsh, the representation of God in the book talks about civilizations that are at a higher level of consciousness than Earth. Earth is at the third dimension. We're moving into the fourth dimension, or whatever, fifth. Yeah, fifth. So here's the thing. The representation of God says that in higher level of consciousness beings, even when they talk about sports, there is no competition. There is none of this. There is no proving who's the best. God talks about it in this book. And so that's why this really hits me, because my little boy is at a Waldorf school.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. He's at Waldorf. Excellent.
He's at a daycare that's the feeder program to the only, or one of the only, Waldorf schools in Ottawa that's part of the French Public Board. And do you know why I wanted to bring him there? Because in this book, he says, or she says, the only educational system that sort of mimics what happens in higher level of consciousness planets, wherever they are in the universe, is the Waldorf.
Interesting that it would say that. And I always, by the way, look at these things and I go, okay, what's the truth in that? And
right.
But I'm going to take that one step deeper.
Yeah.
It's not about the school. It's what they offer, which is the ability for creative expression.
Exactly.
That's the reason that school, Waldorf, works. I have one right down the street from me, actually, a Waldorf school. And I see these genius kids coming out. They're musicians and they're all of that. Spirit, by its very nature, is creative. And when you, let's say, support that. So Leo's a very psychic kid. You know this. He's probably talked about past lives. In fact, he's talked about other planets because he's not from around here. He's got some very clear roots, and I wouldn't be surprised if he loved like rockets and things like that. But just because that's part of where he comes from. But it's all about creative expression. The more creative we are, the more our spirit shines. And by the way, so there's nothing wrong with boxing and, football and, all those sports, UFC, and although, I'm not so much into beating other things up. But yeah, I just can't, but I get it. Right. But I can talk about a goat that will talk about spirit all the time if you listen. And that is Michael Jordan. And sorry, folks, he is the greatest of all times in so many ways. But any of those athletes, anytime you talk about I'm in the zone, nothing could touch them. They were not in competition with the other players, even if they were playing a game. They had their own power, their own space, their own in the zone, in their own space. And literally, by the way, when you look at an athlete that is in that space, and it's incredible. I actually love watching sports because I could tell you whose aura is wavering, who's not owning their space, who's in competition. In American football, it's fascinating when they do close-ups on the, okay, so forgive me, I don't know the names of like all the players, like the linebackers or the tackles. You can see them looking, and there's some that look from their own space. So they're actually doing what I'm doing. They're looking to see the pictures of that person on the other side. And they can generally then get right through. But have you ever seen a game where a player bounces off another player and you're like, that's weird. That looked really weird. Right. They're owning their space.
I love that. I love owning your space.
Yeah.
That's a keeper, Twitchy verse. There's a keeper right there.
Yeah.
Owning your space and coming from a place of your own space.
Right. And not, oh, don't cross that line. Here's the boundary, because that's not what it's about. That's resistance. And you know what they say about resistance? Like, resistance is futile.
Exactly.
Resistance actually does the opposite, right? But if you own your space, you don't have to keep anybody out, right? Because you're owning it. And that's part of the biggest form of transformation that there is. But, you know, for sure in sports, like, effort that's appropriate. Right? But that it's not in lieu of spirit. And, you know, so it's great that here you are, you're bringing your son to a place that is going to nurture his creative mind.
Of course.
And, you know, everybody want to play a game for a minute?
Yeah,
a psychic game?
Okay. Live on the Coffee and Biscotti show. Here we go.
And what is it called? Twitchyverse?
Yeah, what's called we call it the Twitchyverse because we're on
I like
Twitch.
it. I like the Twitchyverse thing. So if you are able to, because this is a fun game, I actually teach this when I do kind of intro workshops and things like that. Why doesn't everybody go ahead and close your eyes and just give yourself a breath? And just really tune in to who you are, where you are, not in any effort, just be, just give yourself that breath, and you can just kind of feel your lungs expand, and then just be right in the center of your head and just be. Notice, you know, the chair that you're sitting in. Are you comfortable or uncomfortable? This is when we're becoming aware of our physical body. Right? We have one. Basically, we're spirit in a human suit. Kind of like Batman putting on Batman's suit, right? So we're in this human suit. So just notice how does that feel? Can you stretch out your arms? Can you in your mind's eye, can you just be right in the center of your head and then in charge? And then, because we're going to use our imaginations for just a moment, I'd like you to picture a beautiful lemon. Notice that beautiful kind of yellow, pale yellow color. You can imagine all the dimples in the lemon. Really get a sense of that lemon, how it's got a little belly button on one side that's an outie, and it's where it was attached to the tree. It might even have a little stem with a leaf or two on it. And then give yourself a breath and just notice what it feels like in your body to kind of notice that lemon. And then just kind of imagine the smell of that beautiful lemon, which isn't sour. It's got a flowery smell. Just, you can smell that fragrance coming from that beautiful, glistening lemon. And then imagine yourself cutting that lemon and opening it up and holding it in your hands where you've got a half in each hand. And just smell the lemon pieces and how fragrant that is. And imagine in your mind's eye seeing the pulp and how juicy it is, and all of that moisture and that beautiful lemon just welcoming you. And then I want you to, as quickly as you can, take a bite out of that sour lemon and notice how your body reacted when you did that. And then just go ahead and open your eyes a moment. What happened there, Mel?
Yeah, I felt the sourness of the bite, that it made my skin tingle.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So, and some people, usually when I do this in class, it's always funny because some people go, like, they make that sour face, or, but I've never once, and I've done this hundreds, if not thousands of times in person and, otherwise. And I always get the same reaction, that people had to smile, or they got, or they could almost taste the lemon. So why that is, the body reacts to mental image pictures that we give it. So all I did was walk you through that space, and you handed it that.
I wanted to hear, sorry, Debbie, I want to hear from the chat too. Like, I want to know if anybody did that, if they participated in that, and to see what sort of reaction they got. So please, guys, if you're in the chat, and you did that exercise with us, please write it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm curious. Well, I don't know who was able to do it. I don't know if people are, I love that there is no effort in spirit. Spirit just is. Mic drop. I love that.
It's true.
That's so cool.
That's so Debbie, like, that was a sour lemon. Yep.
Yeah.
So Debbie, like, you're doing this, so clearly this is what you do now. Like, this is it. This is I don't want to call it a job, but this is your passion. This is what your voice that you're sharing.
This is my labor of love. We could call it that.
Yeah, that's lovely. I like that. I like that even better. A labor of love. Mm-hmm. And so, like, tell us a little bit about, like, I mean, I know that people find you. I know that it's through referrals. I'm sure, I found you through Albert. But, I mean, how does it feel? Like, what do you feel like when you do this work? It's so powerful.
Okay, so how people find me, let me get to that, because I don't want to forget, if anybody hasn't stayed till the end, that if you go to my website and you book a reading, a 30, a 60, or a 90-minute session, use the code CRUMEL, KRUMEL, on any of those, and there's a $20 discount. So, wow. That's yeah. So
sorry, Debbie. Can I use the discount code too?
Yes, you can use the discount too.
CRUMEL.
Yes, you can. CRUMEL. I thought you'd like that, CRUMEL.
I love it.
You were asking me about, could it be coffee and biscotti? And I'm like, no, CRUMEL. It seems right. This is your show, right?
Indeed,
That's
indeed.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
But how does it feel to me? Well, here's where it gets to be the win-win. I had to heal myself to get here, to exercise this muscle, to be able to look and see, to unpeel the layers. So this is my change and transformation. When I work with you, that's your change and transformation, right? But here's the win-win. By looking at you, I go to a deeper level within me. So not only do you get a healing, but I get a healing as well.
Of course.
But I don't do it for me. I don't go, oh, I'm going to read that person and, what am I going to get? Because none of this is about ego. It's about change and transformation. And my goal is to be able to see more and more expansively. And in order to do that, I need to continually clear my space and be in that space. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean,
Okay.
to be honest with you, I'm clarity coaching. And one of the things, Debbie, that I talk about all the time is about how, first and foremost, we talk about self-love. We talk about getting the awareness. But when you get that awareness, I want to provide my clients what they need, not what I think they need. And there's a huge difference between the two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a huge difference between the two. What happens with awareness, and when you guide people to awareness, is by seeing the truth, they are actually doing the healing for themselves. You just haven't necessarily connected those dots quite yet.
Mm-hmm, of course.
In that but that's what's happening. So the awareness is giving them what they need. When I read somebody, I've actually read people who I read something that they've never told another soul. It's very freeing to be seen at that level. And you are seeing your clients at that level.
I am.
And you're recognizing that. So that is part of the healing. You're giving them more. And then they can bring in more. That's why they have more clarity. Most times when I work with people, they tell me, oh my God, I feel so light and I feel free. Because they're no longer, do you know how much energy it takes to hold a secret? Do you know how much energy it takes to be in resistance? I mean, we all do. And so the only way we change or transform or do any of those things is by really getting honest with ourselves. And sometimes, we need a clairvoyant or a coach that just tells it like it is from that perception. Yeah. And also sees you for who you are. Not that you're that screw up, not worthy of, but then when you say hello to that spirit and the capabilities of those folks, right? I'm gonna give you another quote. Here's another one of my faves.
Let's do it.
Any Doctor Who fans?
Sure.
Out there? All right. So this actually came out of the Jodie Whittaker, the Woman Who Fell to Earth episode that I literally watched 20 times until I got the wording correct. Because this is one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. And I don't care who wrote it on the show. It's one of the most powerful things. By the way, they were a clairvoyant. There's not even a question in my life. The scriptwriter on that show was amazing. We are all capable of the most incredible change. We can evolve while still staying true to who we are. We can honor who we've been and who we choose to be and who we want to be next. So we're all capable of the most incredible change. We can evolve while still staying true to who we are. We can honor who we've been and choose who we want to be next. So I know you love challenges, Mel. So then the question becomes, who do you want to be next? Do you want to move forward connected? What's that saying? Do what you always do and get what you always got? Or do you want to shed those layers? Like who do you want to be next? Yeah. Isn't that a powerful statement?
It's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. And thank you, Sandra, for joining us and for all the wonderful words that you and the energy that you bring, because you're an amazing human being yourself, Sandra. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. I haven't been kind of paying attention to the side. Yeah, oh yeah. So Ming did meet me randomly. Um, through Facebook. Those were the days that we actually accepted invitations from people we didn't know without other friends, because it was different. It just was a different time, and God bless. And I remember communicating with Ming probably when I first got on Facebook. So 9 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe something like that. I don't know exactly. But yeah, and then it took a while for Albert to get to me.
Wow, he's an incredible human being himself.
He's amazing.
And this is what I love. This is why I created, I say this every week, and I haven't said it yet this week, Debbie, but I created this platform because this was, first of all, inspired by Putin Nation himself, who said, Twitch is a wonderful place to come and do a show, or to, he explained it, the difference between a bar and a nightclub. Nightclub people are just coming in and are going, but at a bar, people stop and chat with you, and that's what this is. So I said, I'm not really into drinking, so how about a coffee shop? And he says, I love it. So that's how we got to coffee and biscotti. But the truth is, Debbie, is that I love this platform because we bring somebody like you in who, aside from being a wealth of knowledge, is just someone who is sharing their passion. One of the quotes that I always read, and it was in my blog on the Krumel TV repair guy.
I love that one.
But I want to read it to you, and you can of course use your intuition and your energy, your ability to read energy. But Kent Nurburn wrote a book called Simple Truths. And in this chapter on career, he explains that we should think of work as a vocation, which comes from the Latin word for calling, which comes from the word voice. When you look at it like this, work should be something that calls to you, that gives you a voice to who you are and what you want to say in this world.
Love that.
And I love that you've come on and very graciously shared your story and talked about some of the trials and tribulations that you went through to get you to this point. And that's why I put that quote, and you liked it, which I was so grateful that you did, that pain, Michael Singer says in The Untethered Soul, pain is your way to freedom. That in order for you to make change, you have to feel that pain, or else you're not going to change.
You don't have to feel it, but you have to recognize it.
You have to recognize it. Better.
And the
better
reason
said.
that I say that is because I don't want you to have to feel the pain. That's part of what I do, is I say hello to that so you can release it without feeling it again.
Well said.
And when I saw that quote, I saw your essence behind it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, not that you wanted people to feel that pain, but that you wanted them to clear it. And it really is a powerful quote, but we can all welcome that in. There was I'll tell you, I was talking to my mom, and she said, I that she was really fortunate in growing up in the family that she grew up in and everything. And yet at the same time, she always felt that she wasn't smart enough, that she wasn't, good enough. And I said to her, because this was kind of as I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you about.
Right.
So obviously every other one of my conversations ended up the same, so that I could look more deeply at that. But we had the best conversation because I pointed out, isn't it interesting that there was really, you're blessed to be growing up, and yet you still felt this kind of way. That doesn't make anybody right or wrong or blame or anything like that. That it's just, oh, wow, why did I feel that way? It's just how I felt. And sometimes we have to let things be in order to release them.
Right.
And that's because maybe that wasn't the truth. But if you ask my grandpa, he'd be like, no, I thought she was so smart.
That's right.
Right. But we have our perception. And so we don't, bring that up. So I was glad that you, that was a really heartfelt quote.
Yeah.
On
because
that.
Because what I've been noticing and what I've been sort of experience as I continue my journey as a clarity coach, Debbie, is that we really are like holding on to stuff in the past for so long that really stops us, that inhibits us from really stepping into our power.
Yeah. Yeah. Also that word power. Like, what is power? Power is not what people think it is. It's not power over something.
It's power too.
It's power of who we are.
Hmm.
It's that peace inside us, that spiritual part. So I'm super glad you just said that, because you're right. Stepping into our power in my verbiage, right? Because it's just semantics, right?
Right.
Stepping into your own space is the same thing.
It is.
As stepping into your power. That's why I do those personal empowerment sessions, is I help people step in more, and I'm going to say more gracefully, because it's not that people don't do it, but we could be crashing around in bumper cars,
I was just going to say bumper cars. You took the words out of my mouth.
A while, and and then bring that in. So step in, and that's what you do. That's what you're doing.
So what's next for you, Debbie? I know you're continuing this journey as a clairvoyant reader, a healer, a mentor. You're running classes. Can you talk a little bit about sort of some of the things you're doing? I know that you said that there's a clairvoyant, I think it's called clairvoyant mastery class or something like that. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Essentials that are coming. I think it's August 9th is the day.
Yep, that's the start date, but we're doing pre-registration. It's already up on my website, so I have it front and center. Also, if you're interested, but you want to have an info meeting for like 15 minutes, if you scroll down, there's actually a place to schedule an info meeting that's free. If you want to just pick my brain or get more info, because sometimes that can be misunderstood, like what that program is. It's once a month class. That's like, whenever the class is, it's generally the first Monday or second Monday of the month. And then the other 90-minute sessions are one-to-one sessions with me, scheduled at your convenience. And then we do a tools check on there. So I have somebody actually, whether it's me or someone else, look at the techniques you've learned and how you're using them and things like that. Because sometimes energy gets on them and you can clear, but it's all about healing. It's all about the healing process.
Right.
Through learning through seeing more clearly. So that's really what it is. But, for me, what's next? Every step that I take, this, I just got done, and Sandra was a part of this. I taught a class on menopause magic, and that was an incredible 4-week course. So I'll probably be figuring out, kind of more 4-week courses. If you connect with me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anywhere, LinkedIn even, I offer sometimes monthly meditations. Some are free, others are not. I'll charge, depends on what it is. So I'll continue to do that. There's free meditations on my website if you want to get your feet wet in this, because it's a specific technique that's a little bit different than probably what people are used to. But yeah, so I'm not skirting your question, but I like the freedom to be able to create with what comes through and what people need. I saw the need for that 4-week menopause class. That'll be a once a year course, period.
Yeah.
Because that was just incredibly magical. Yeah, it's really, I don't know, like I didn't anticipate that. And I was just like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
Much of my guidance I will get through all the readings that I do and all the healings that I offer and am a part of. And my plan, my goal, as it were, is to empower people to find their own clarity about the journey that they want to go on. Right. So I really look a lot in present time for what people are looking, what is the society needs?
What's needed?
What's needed. So that's really how I go about this. And what's needed is to get people some awareness with us, the Clairvoyant Essentials course, and learning how to read, auras and chakras and, things like that, in order so that we know ourselves better by doing that, so that we then also can relate to others in that same way.
I want to extend sort of an opportunity for those in the chat, Debbie, that if they had any questions to please post them, because you won't believe it, but it's 90 minutes already.
I know. Oh my God.
I don't really want to stop. I think we should keep going, but I want to respect time. So if you do have any questions, my friends in the Twitchiverse, please, post them in the chat so that we can ask Debbie, because, not many people get this opportunity to sort of have an opportunity with Debbie, unless it's, unless you're doing a course or unless you're involved in a reading or something. So this is an amazing opportunity. And I just have to say, Debbie, I'm grateful. I mean, I was going to joke, and I think I said it to you yesterday. I got Debbie for 90 minutes for free.
Nothing's ever free. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's pretty cool that I got a chance to spend. And it's interesting. I think that, just to circle back for a moment, Debbie, I think that what I love about what I do and what I did with martial arts and Muay Thai and MMA is I provided people a tool and a space so that they can come and grow. That's right. All it was. We used to say that I'm not healing anybody. I'm just facilitating the healing, but the healing is done by you. You're healing yourself. You're doing the work yourself. I'm working with clients that are saying, wow, I can't believe all of these changes that have happened so quickly. And I said, oh, I didn't really do anything. Right. You're doing it all.
Right.
I just created a space so that you can come, that's free of judgment, where you can come and share your most intimate emotions and thoughts and feelings, whatever it is that you need to let go of, so that you can begin to have the awareness, and really step into your power, or step into your space, as you call it, and develop more clarity in your life. So Albert has a question, Ming's question. When Debbie was reading Mel and talking about the throat chakra, I saw an alien that looked like the predator over his left shoulder, and also my heart felt weak. What does that mean? LOL.
What is that? LOL. What does that mean? Well, it's interesting. There's probably 1,000 different things, reasons, is when we begin to see threats like that, we go into resistance. And that's why sometimes we feel weak, is just because that very resistance does that. What would, for Ming's specific, I would say that if you move into the center of your head and then look again, right, at that energy, I mean, not now, but when let's say you see something like that, and you move into the center of your head and you can actually look, okay, is that really a predator, or is that just a being, or is it, is it something that is benevolent? Is it something that is heavy? But when we work on that feeling level, and there's any kind of resistance there, everything can feel weak, right? But so there's probably 1,000 different answers I could give for that question, because it depends on, where you were looking from. It depends on what your matching picture is with that. Maybe you've, worked with a being in a past life that was like that, and things like that. So that's why it's not, I would have had to look right then to look, but it's not that your heart was weak, but that actually it looks like a past life lit up, Ming, is really what it looks like. When you were in a male body, and you might have gotten a sword through the heart, kind of a thing. So basically, you looked at your soul wound from that lifetime. So that's one piece. And so it's all, and we'll unwind some of that when we talk tomorrow, actually. Yeah, Ming has an appointment tomorrow.
There you go.
So yeah, we'll address that. Swords through the heart. Yeah, very often I see in present time, when I'm looking at somebody, I'll be like, "Ooh, there's like a dark black energy behind your shoulder," and then I'll look, and it's like, "Oh, look, you were in a male body and King Arthur's court, whatever, and you went to war, and somebody gotcha."
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So cool. Well, I have to say, Debbie, that this has been refreshing. This has been wonderful. Albert, what an amazing show. It really was. I'm super, super grateful for you taking the time. I know that you're a woman and the man. I did have one last question, though. I really wanted to ask you this question. It's been on my mind for some time.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Have you done any work with, for example, the police in finding missing, people, like missing children, or like is that what part of your skill set that you can?
So I have not worked with the police, although I have worked with like individuals when there were missing persons. And seen exactly, actually, I had a friend that went missing not that long ago, and I'm like, you need to go to the lakefront. You need to, go to this specific spot and everything. And he wasn't there. But here's the crazy thing. When I talked to him, when he turned up, we had a chat on the phone, and he said, that's really weird that you told Jerry to go there, because that's where I spent most of the time until I moved. I find missing cats, keys. Most recently, I had a friend call me. Her mom had passed, and there was a bunch of jewelry and rings missing from where her mom told her. And I looked at the energy, and I don't remember what it was now, but I'm like, yeah, there's like a red or something. Like a lot of times I'll get the color. I'm like, well, it's inside something that you wouldn't expect. So don't get rid of any clothes. Like don't, and I guess it was in a sock. She sent me a text. And by the way, this is a friend who does not believe in any of this stuff, who called me up anyway and said, okay, this is really weird. I find it weird that, we couldn't find the keys, or I'm sorry, the rings and everything. And and so she found her mother's ring, and it was very specific. So yeah, I've done that. But I want to thank you for asking me to be on your show, and all the energy we had to punch through to actually get here. I mean, was that astounding? Have you ever had somebody that it was like this much?
No, not like this. Not like this. Not like this. Like I think we came on like 2 minutes before the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like waiting, going, did he miss it? And a huge shout out of thanks. Who is Rosie in here, or?
Yeah, Rosie
Emma,
Tozy, she was here. Emma, yeah.
Okay. So please, thank her for me if she's not, because I don't know who's on. Like I don't know how to work this thing yet. So I apologize.
No, but I will tell
But
you, Josh, Putin Nation, I just want you to know that I think that Debbie should have a show on Twitch. I think she would be perfect. I think she would be like come and come and chat with me and ask questions. Josh, I'm telling you, we gotta get Debbie in our mastermind group. There's Rosie Tozy. She's there.
there she's at. Okay, just sending love, and I got the cheers from Poutine Nation. I'm
There
gonna
you
come
go.
to Canada and actually have poutine, even though I'm allergic to almost everything in it. I don't care. That stuff is so good.
Thank you,
But thank
Debbie.
you.
Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for sharing your voice. Thank you for sharing your gift to the world. You are an amazing human being. I love you so much. I feel so connected to you. Love you lots. Thank you. I'm going to put you backstage and give my final thoughts, and we will reconvene in just a few minutes. And don't forget, guys, Crewmel promo code. Don't forget and book your reading with Debbie right away. Don't even waste any time. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Just go and do this reading. See you soon.
Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. How about that for a bit of a twist on a show where we do something live and do sort of a guided piece and my God, I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say, guys. I love this stuff. This is why I got involved in mystery school teachings, because I felt something. I just felt something powerful about, again, the things that you cannot see. The Little Prince said in his book, anything that is essential is invisible to the eyes. And I love that. And so I'm super grateful to have 90 minutes with Debbie. Super grateful for all of you, Poutine Nation, Rosie Tozy, Two Tums from Jamaica, the Rum Cake Queen, sending you love, Sandra Mio in the house, and everybody else, and to our new guests that were here. That came and for the first time we're here at the Coffee and Biscotti Show. What a pleasure to have you here. Next week, Majid. Yes, you heard it. Majid, expert speaker. He will be here next week on the Coffee and Biscotti Show every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't miss it, folks. Don't miss it. Start putting this show in your calendar, because there's going to be some powerful guests. We always do. We try to really share with the world people that are, just passionate people who are sharing their love and their voice with the world. So next week, we will see you. Until then, start stepping into your space. Start stepping into your power and go and give the world your energy and your love so that we can make this place a little better and leave this place a little better than it was when we found it. So, from my heart to yours, Poutine Nation, rate us away, my friend. We will see you back here next Friday. Peace.